Hey, Egg Teacher Christmas here, coming at you with another video. We're gonna work on the bubble lights. So this is the other big light bulb video that I alluded to. So these are the Mr. Christmas blow mode bubble lights. And it says color morphing light. It actually chases up and up the candle like bubbles going up. In multiple colors. So it is an RGB of sorts. So there is a microcontroller in there. The one problem I had with these is, as you can see on the bottom, these are another light that accepts D-cell batteries. And I just hate having to buy batteries for every time that I want to have a Christmas display going. With this is another water resistant housing here for the batteries. The lid looks like this. It just clips in there. But I've got it exposed because we're going to be working inside of one of these and doing a little bit of a modification to something that I found works okay with it. Now, I will tell you, I am not an electrical expert. I do this as a hobby. So I'm sure someone that's an electrician may come and say I'm doing this all wrong, but I'm showing you how I'm doing that. So what we have to do is we have to find a replacement that's going to provide about the right voltage and about the right amperage for this bubble light to work. So I've gone all through my stock of supplies. You know, a good animated Christmas lighter is always going to keep a random stock of cords and lights and transformers and all sorts of stuff so that they can do adaptations like this. Especially now that RGB lights have become more popular, now more than ever, guys are modifying things to make them work with their systems. So I'm going to show you this modification that I've worked on, and we're going to just work on one of the modifications. I do have another one that is a little bit more in depth. I've got 5 of these bubble lights, and they're 2-ish foot tall. I'll find a tape, and we'll see if we can get an exact height on that. Looks like just shy of 2 foot 1 inch. So was just right down about here. So we'll call them 2 foot tall. So 2 foot tall bubble lights. And we're going to do some adjustments to these so that we don't have to use the D-cell batteries. So let's get this complete one out of the way. And we'll start working with what we've got going here as far as the modification that I found works the best. So when I started looking through my house for different transformers, I was looking for 4.5 volts. So each battery that's a D-cell gives you 1.5 volts. It takes 3 of them, so 4.5 volts should ideally be what it is. And so you look on this information down here. This is a cell phone. This is a cell phone charger. Let's see if we can get real close there. I think it focused. So 5 volts at 2 amps. That's what its output is. So it's either, it does either 9 volts or 1.6. 9 volts at 1.6 amps or 5 volts at 2.0 amps. So this is probably not one that we want. I'm going to look at this one here. This is 5 volts at 1.2 amps. Let's see if we can get that closer. And we were shooting for 5.5 volts. So we want to, or excuse me, 4.5 volts. We want to be as close as we can. And this one was the closest one that I could find in my stock. And it was 4.75 volts at 0.55 amps. So this is as close as I could get. And this is an old Samsung phone charger. What I've done on this one so far is this is a super fine wire. So I had to be kind of really careful with how I was doing this. I've gone ahead and stripped back the insulation and exposed the 2 inner wires. And that was after removing the plug. Now remember, just do this with phone chargers that you're no longer using. Don't do this with phone chargers that you might need to charge your phone. Because once you do this, they're kind of dead. So this is not a USB connection here. This is just this is a manufacturer special specifically for that old phone that I used to have. So let me show you a little bit about the internals. In this, there are 3 screws. There are 3 Phillips screws that are actually quite small. So those are the Phillips screws, and they're on the base of this. I'll show you where they're at. There are 6 holes on the bottom where they could be at, but I'll show you where they actually are. So most people will look and they'll see these deep holes here and they'll say, oh gosh, that must be where the screws are. I've got to reach all the way down in there with a long screwdriver. But no, those are actually for the ground stakes. So you're supposed to line these up somehow in the ground and push these in, and those stakes go in and hold this in the wind. So there are, looks like there's only 3 stakes, but there's 4 of those holes. Maybe the stakes go there. Actually, I think the stakes go there. I think that's where they slip in. I couldn't tell if they went there or there, but I guess they go there. So I guess you shove these into there and then stake it into the ground. So we could probably still use those. So these other 4 holes, maybe they're from other for other decorations and other mounting points, but the ones on this one are actually in these 3 holes here. So I've gone ahead and removed those. And again, this is fine wire, so we're going to be really careful here. So this is what we have inside. There's a little bit of a microcontroller, and then this is connected to the switch. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to come in here and we're going to make our connections here on either side of the battery compartment. So we're going to cut those wires, and then we're going to try to solder them back together, and then we'll put this whole thing back into one piece and see if we can get it to run again. Okay. So let's get this off to the side. So we'll go ahead and use our complete one to kind of show my point and what I was doing. The other thing I want to point out is this particular charger is not polarized, right? The blades on this are the same size. So if you put it in an outlet, you can put it that way, or you can put it that way. So it's not really going to matter on how you put this in the wall, which means once we get down into this part, we're going to see if it's important or not. I don't know. We'll try to experiment with that. So I've got those stripped back. I've got them twisted up a little bit. We're going to go in here and work with this one. So the way you figure out which side you're going on is you look, this wants to have a positive here. Okay, so positive terminal is on this side because there's just one pad here. And then you trace it across here, and there is a spring with a bump connected together. That's all one bar, and then it goes here, it does that. So this is the in terminal on one, and this is the in terminal on the other. So this is the positive, and this is the negative. So we're going to do a little test on this and see if we can get it to work. And we're going to use some alligator clips, and we're going to plug this together, and we're going to put a clip on here and onto our wire, and a clip on here, or we'll hold a clip here and see if we get that to work, and then see if we reverse the polarity if it causes an issue. Alligator clips from the automotive section of our local farm store. So we're going to go ahead and set these up first, and we're going to go with just the color codes that they got. So red on red, black on white. Okay. Keep those separated out. Make sure those are not touching one another. Don't want to short it out and ruin the only power supply I had that I felt worked. And there we go. I hope I've got it figured out now. Apparently it helps to plug in the extension cord. So I had it off because I was working on something else and I forgot to plug it back in. So we'll go in here and touch the terminal. See if we've got that light working. There we go. So it does matter. It is going to matter. Okay, so we know which way we have to go now. So on these, there is going to be a definite polarity that you have to hit. So I'll show you that, and you're going to have to figure it out for your individual power supply. But yeah, there is a direction that we have to go for polarity. This is just the stakes. That's all that is. But yeah, let's get the lights back on, and we'll figure out what our wiring is. So yep, we're learning together. So when I did this the other day, it worked the first try. But this one, we're going to have to make sure that we do have our polarity set. Let's see what it's set for. So the negative is going to have to be to ground, and the positive will have to be positive. So it is polarized. So even though our transformer isn't, it is polarized in the device. So you'll have to have the negative to the spring post, and then the flat plate post will be the will end up being the positive. Yeah, it's still working. Okay, so that's the way we've got to do it. We've got to wire that up correctly. Okay, let's put that down. Okay, so we learned a little bit on that. One, you got to remember to turn on the switch. Two, it is polarized, so we do have to make sure that our negative is to the negative terminal and our positive is to the positive terminal. We're going to make sure that the wires didn't get switched. Yeah, positive terminal, negative terminal. Okay, so on our power supply, our positive is the red wire, and then the negative is the white wire on our transformer. So we do need to make sure that we get that set. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut these off as close as we can to the terminals. We're going to strip them back. We're going to solder them together. Well, put some heat shrink on there, then we'll solder them together, and we'll be all set, and we'll do a little bit more of a modification. All right, here we go. No turning back now. Going in there, and I'm making a cut as close as I can. There we go. And let's see if we can strip this wire back. Yep, there we got that one. Okay. And we're going to try to strip this one too. All right, there we go. Get those wires nice and tight. I'm going to trim these back so they're a respectable distance. Okay, then I'm going to twist these and do the same. It's a really, really fine wire. I really hope this works. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take advantage of some of these pieces that come up. So this longer tube here, I'm going to take advantage of that, and I'm going to feed my wire through that. And then I'm going to build in a strain relief for that, just in case I have an issue. Okay, so I'm feeding up there. This has got to look factory by the time we're done. There we go. That looks better. Now I'm going to add in the strain relief. So to do that, I'm going to drill a couple of holes. I'm just using 1/8" holes. And I'm drilling right into the battery compartment there. And then I'm going to use my good old standby, a nice zip tie, and we're going to go through one end and back up. And remember, zip ties can be factory because your car has a lot of wiring that is held in place with zip ties. So don't let anybody tell you that zip ties aren't or can't be a factory deal. All right. So we're going to come in here. We're going to zip tie this wire in. Zip tie on this side, and then I'm going to cross it. Nice and tight. We'll get another zip tie, and then we'll zip the whole thing down. Got those off. There we go. There is our built-in strain relief. So a couple of zip ties. Get those cut off, and we can separate these back out. Now, one of the things that I always seem to forget when I'm working is I always seem to forget to put the heat shrink on. So I've got my heat shrink. And this is 3/32 to 3/64 heat shrink. So it's really some tiny stuff. Auto parts store, or I don't know, it could have been Harbor Freight. I shop a lot there. Go ahead and chop that in half. And always remember to put those on before you begin soldering, because after you solder, it doesn't help you at all. So we'll go that way. I think I need those a little bit shorter. Don't want the heat from the soldering messing it up. Okay. All right, and now I'm going to go ahead and twist these wires together. We're doing the best we can. Okay, so we've got that one. We're going to try on this other one. These are not easy. It's a pretty fine wire. I feel like I'm trying to do this while wearing gloves. We've got our two connections hacked together there. Red to red, black to white. Let's see if our soldering iron is heated up enough. Yep. All right. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do the heat shrink on that. All right. There we go. So we've got the heat shrink, we've got them soldered, we've got them all connected. And what we're going to do now is we're going to test it. I'm going to see whether or not this still works. And if it does, we'll button it all up and add it to the display. There we go. Now we have a cell phone charger powered bubble light. So this one has been fixed. No longer D-cell battery powered. It is now charged by a cell phone charger. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to go ahead and button this up, which is just basically going backwards. I'm putting the screws back in and putting it all together. I'll show you that in just a moment. But other than that, I think we are ready for the show. Okay, let's put those screws back in. So we'll line it up, put the screws back in, and we're going to call this build done. There we go. That, line that up. Okay, that's sitting quite well. There's one. Three, and then we'll put the battery cover back on. And we are all set. So there you go. There is a quick conversion that takes an old cell phone charger, takes the place of our D-cell batteries, and gives me a Christmas decoration, one of these Christmas bubble lights that I can now plug in and go ahead and use. And again, if you're looking for these bubble lights, they were for sale this year at Walmart, and they are by Mr. Christmas. So you can always ask your local retailer if they could bring in Mr. Christmas bubble lights for you, and they're about 2 foot tall. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Ag Teacher Christmas out.